Just for a second, we'll just grant Daniel's argument. We'll just pretend, well, you know, it's okay to have a bunch of 80 IQ people who can't seem to get past primitive technology and are just day laborers. But you know what? We don't do anything degenerate. Fucking your cousin's degenerate, Daniel!
Marrying your cousin, effing your cousin, that is degenerate. On the basis of what? It's not on the basis of your Bible. It's just a degree. Yeah, laugh it up. I
do want to make sure.
Laugh it up.
I do want to make sure.
Let's take a look at the first straw man. Did I ever say IQ is the end-all be-all? No, of course not. Straw man still hasn't told us how Muslims build better civilizations when they produce 70 to 85 IQ individuals who are basically only suited for basic jobs. Okay, still hasn't told us that. He can't tell you. He can't tell you that these are better civilizations. The reason that he can't is because they're not. They're clearly not. And the thing that's really funny about this is, like, let's just grant it. Let's just grant that, just for a second, we'll just grant Daniel's argument. We'll just pretend, well, you know, it's okay to have a bunch of 80 IQ people who can't seem to get past primitive technology and are just day laborers. But you know what? We don't do anything degenerate. Fucking your cousin's degenerate, Daniel! That's degenerate. Yeah, maybe you don't have hookers and OnlyFans girls, but fucking your first cousin is degenerate. So by the way, and let me just point this out, and this is really, really important to point out, he has not made an argument about how they produce a better civilization. Only I have. My argument is simple and still stands unopposed. Where Christianity goes, incest decreases based on canon law. Where Islam goes, incest increases based on their canon law. Therefore, where Christians go, society gets better. Where Islam goes, it gets worse. An argument would sure be swell.
90 seconds, we'll switch it to Daniel.
No, I gave an argument that you failed to respond to. I said that Islam, when we look at the statistics, when we look at all these countries on these metrics of marriage, birth rate, household size, belief in God, conviction in God. I thought we were believers. Conviction in God is higher in Muslim countries. Holding on to your religious practice is more in Muslim countries. Look at the levels of drug abuse, alcohol abuse being lower in Muslim countries. These are all values that are good, and we see them associated with Islam, not Christianity. That was my argument. So you can't deny those statistics, so you keep claiming that I have no argument. I clearly do have an argument, and I refuted your argument. If IQ is the end-all be-all, your entire argument is on the basis of IQ. You haven't said, you just say, marrying your cousin, effing your cousin, that is degenerate. On the basis of what? It's not on the basis of your Bible. It's just a degree. Yeah, laugh it up. I
do want to make sure. I do want to make sure we can hear the speaker.
Laugh it up, okay? Because as I said, you are arguing on the basis of a decree that was made. What is the actual moral? Can you make a moral argument, Andrew? Other than, it lowers IQ? There are many things that lower IQ. Like I said, interbreeding with other races, interracial marriage results in lower IQ. So is that degenerate as well? Why can't you answer these questions, Andrew, instead of repeating, you don't have an argument. You haven't responded to my argument. Okay, yeah, you've said that 10 times. Respond to the points that I'm making.
Well, I don't. Here's the thing that's funny, right? The points that you're making are in question form. Question form is not an argument. They're questions, not arguments. Perhaps you should go to a higher IQ school. The point is here, and this is super important to point out, I have what's called an argument, which means I made an argument. That argument needs to be refuted. Now, I would be happy to sit here and answer all of your questions today, Daniel, but you requested specifically a forum where that's not the case, where instead we do 2-minute monologues, probably because I would tear you to pieces in a Socratic method, but I would have been happy to do that too. People always misjudge. They always seem to think, well, Andrew just steamrolls debates, and he's terrible at these long-form formal debates. It's where I fucking thrive. And let me just point this out. Has anybody heard an argument yet? He just says, well, there's better families and stuff. It's like, okay, but you need to give us a standard, an argument standard for why it would be that these have better societies than societies which can have, skilled labor and middle management at the very least. That's all I'm asking for. I'll concede. hey, we've got some problems. We've got the OF, we've got the prostitution, we've got some pretty horrible things going on over here. And we have high IQ enemies that require high IQ enemies, right? And they're not getting it from Islam. So my question just is this again. It's very simple. How do you make societies that can even combat this to begin with when you basically live in the Stone Age in comparison with technological distinction? You live in the Stone Age. Islam will get AI. We already got AI. What are you talking about? So I just want an argument. That's it. I want to hear an argument for why Islamic nations are better than Christian nations based on the fact that they go, and everywhere they go, they increase cousin fucking, and we don't, which lowers the collective IQ. I would actually like a refutation there at some point.
Okay, here is the argument. I'll put it in premise form so you can follow it. Take notes, Andrew. Premise 1, okay, societies that encourage marriage or religions that encourage more better marriages, higher quality marriages, less being sluts, okay, less prostitution, societies that have bigger and more healthy families, societies that have more devotion to God, religions that encourage societies that are more cohesive, are standing for each other in a kind of nationalistic or communal way. That religion that encourages more of that is going to be better, is going to be a better religion. Premise 2, Islam does encourage all of those things that I've mentioned, and the stats I presented, that's premise 2. Therefore, conclusion, by deductive inference, Islam is a better religion than Christianity. That is the argument. The problem with your argument is that you say premise 1, societies that have higher IQ are going to be better. Premise 2, Christianity, because it bans cousin marriage, is going to lead to societies with higher IQ. Therefore, Christianity is better. My rebuttal of this dumb argument is that premise 1 is wrong. Premise 1 is a false premise. That higher IQ does not lead to better societies. And as proof, I pointed to the United States of America. I pointed to many Christian countries that have low IQ, and you haven't denounced those countries. I gave many reasons why your premise 1 is false. That is my rebuttal of your argument. Get it?
Yeah. Let's go through this premise at a time. First and foremost, the entailment of your argument would be that low IQ societies are better. It would be that lower IQ societies are actually better, Daniel, which is hilarious because, remember, you rejected that as being a false premise. P1, he says societies require higher quality marriages. They fuck their first cousins. How could that possibly be a higher quality marriage, Daniel? I reject premise 1. I'm saying your argument's not even sound. How can you have in any way, shape, or it's totally invalid. I reject it as even being a sound premise. How could this qualitatively be better to have genetic deficiencies compounded over 1,000 years? To the point where your civilization literally requires the benevolence of all other civilizations so that they just don't wipe you out because you're not technologically advanced to do anything about it. You're not technologically advanced. And by the way, when I say technology, I'm not just talking about like lasers and phasers and guns and things like that. Remember, things like philosophy, that's a technology, right? Things like language is technology. Things like social communications and businesses and infrastructure, these are technologies. You can't have these technologies when your IQ is 70 to 85. You can't. You need to have the administrative and skilled labor class, and that requires at least 85 to 100. Most of these places don't have it, but 100 to 115, that's pretty standard for these things. So it's like, look, how could you possibly say that the societies Christians build aren't better on a single principle? That we outlaw first cousin marriage. When you outlaw first cousin marriage, you see the collective IQ begin to increase, right? And you see that these technologies no longer unavailable. Technologies, medicines for children, things like this are now available. His argument, his entire argument is actually we should keep our society super low IQ because if we keep them low IQ, well, they'll have more qualitative marriages and stuff. What? What?
We have to switch it over at 90 seconds. Go ahead, Daniel.
No, I didn't say having lower IQ means you'll have more marriage. You don't understand causality. So again, the question is, you had the vast majority of Christian history at sub 100 IQ. Your assumption, the premise that you're using, is that you have to have a over 100 IQ average in your society to build civilization and to be functional. But this is disproven by your own religious history. This is disproven by all of Christendom prior to 1800 or even 1900, the 1900s actually. So just like Christians could have civilization for 1900 years, Muslims have also had their civilizations that were also thriving, that also had conquest, that also had art, literature, poetry, all kinds of beautiful things that we as human beings value. It's not just IQ. You're taking this atheistic argument, which is baffling to me. Why you as a Christian would have this kind of IQ fetishism? You're not a white nationalist. IQ is not the end-all, be-all of human existence. I am happy, I'm fine with having a 90 average IQ country that abides by traditional values, that abides by whether they be Christian or Muslim. I actually prefer the low IQ Christian countries that value marriage. They don't have degeneracy. They don't have prostitution. I value those Christian countries even when they have a lower IQ, a 90 IQ, an 80 IQ. They're living beautiful lives. Yeah, you can make fun of them. Oh, they have donkeys pulling their carts. You can laugh, but they're living beautiful lives as Christians or as Muslims or any other religious group.
Well, I guess ignorance really is bliss.